Science and technology. That one subject which normally is found to be slightly easy for students, but as soon as terms like CRISPR, semiconductor and artificial intelligence come into picture, it spoils their mood completely. Starting with the very big rumor, I would say. Everyone says that science and tech is 100% driven. Like if there's any other subject, say economics or the polity, etc., they might have some static portion to it. But is this actually true, or we are just scared because of the terms are too fancy?
The reason is that the questions which will be coming in the exam require a lot of static depth and knowledge. Say just if I have to take an example, say in 23 prelims they had asked a question about Agni 5 and BrahMos missile. Now to answer that we need to have the static knowledge of cruise missile and ballistic missile.
Fair.
Without that it is not possible.
Also, sir, is science and tech genuinely getting tougher with each passing year, or is it just some coaching or a social media panic? What do you feel?
Sir, obviously science and technology is getting tougher. The reason is that number of domains being added is being increased. But problem is that some institutes are creating FOMO out of it. But as I told earlier, if we get restricted to the PYQ themes and the specific domains mentioned in the syllabus for mains, 90% of your work will be sorted. But 10% here and there will be for any subject.
Science and technology, that one subject which normally is found to be slightly easy for students, but as soon as terms like CRISPR, semiconductor and artificial intelligence come into picture, it spoils their mood completely. But to think of this very seriously, science and tech is a subject which can help students get very good marks. It's a very scoring subject, and that's the reason why we are here today. We'll break it down to you on how to approach technologies, how to look at the depth of what exactly is the extent of depth that is required to approach science and tech. And for that, we have the person with us who simplifies tech like nobody else, Bhagawan Sir.
Thank you very much for your intro, sir.
So, sir, welcome to GS Room. And the very first question, starting with the very big rumor, I would say.
Yes.
Everyone says that science and tech is 100% current affairs driven. Like if there's any other subject, say economics or polity, etc., they might have some static portion to it. But yes, people have this belief that science and tech is extremely current affairs driven. Is this actually true, or we are just scared because of the terms are too fancy and they sound too fancy?
The reason is that the questions which will be coming in the exam require a lot of static depth and knowledge. Say just if I have to take an example, say in 23 prelims they had asked a question about Agni 5 and BrahMos missile. Now to answer that we need to have the static knowledge of cruise missile and ballistic missile.
Fair.
Without that it is not possible. Even now, say for example we had launched any NISAR satellite or anything, we are using specific launch vehicle and all. Obviously we cannot remember each and everything. Now if we know about orbits, the specific launch vehicles, their functioning, we will be understanding conceptually. How simply we'll be understanding parliament, inflation and all. Similarly, we can understand science and technology. So the thing is that we should have static depth to understand the current affairs.
Fair. So as it goes for other subjects, this also is no different.
Yeah.
The static portion is quite important.
Yeah, but
fair.
Thing is that questions will be more tilted towards current affairs, but it doesn't mean that static is of no relevance.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
So that's an important myth busted at the very onset, that it is not completely current affairs oriented, though the drift is slightly current.
Yeah.
Also, sir, how important is science and tech really? I mean, in both prelims and mains, I mean, is it the side dish, or do you think it's the full meal in UPSC?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking this also. One more problem with respect to the aspirants is that they will be concentrating heavily on polity, economy, no offense to your polity, economy, geography and history.
Yes.
Every time this science and technology becomes last venture, they will be just relying on readily cooked magazines. But sir, this only lands up to 40% or 30% accuracy in prelims if you are doing just those magazines and all. The thing is that in prelims, science and technology itself has a relevance of 15 questions. That means 30 marks. Now 30 marks is a very bigger thing.
Almost 1/3 the cutoff.
Yeah, 1/3 the cutoff. And how polity and economy are having 15 and 20 questions, similarly science and tech is also having 15 questions. But the problem with respect to science and technology is that we have some good standard sources for polity, economy and all, but science and technology we generally do not have, and people also do not have the strategy how to ace it. So that is the problem. But if I have to stress about the importance of science and technology, we will be getting 30 marks for prelims, and in the mains we will be getting around 50 marks. It is around 1/5 of the GS3 paper, and that science and technology knowledge is very much important for GS1 geography, very much important for our SS ethics. So science and technology had an around weightage of 100 marks in mains if I have to club each and everything.
True.
So one thing I want to clear to the aspirants is that don't neglect science and technology. Sometimes why this is important, because sometimes polity and economy might cheat you. That means difficult questions might come.
Definitely.
Now in that case, science and technology will be helping you cross the cutoff.
Oh, fair. So science and tech can be your savior.
Savior.
If you know history, polity, and economics do you some damage or wrong. Fair, sir. Also, sir, you've been tracking this for so many years now.
Yeah.
Have you noticed any clear trend in science and tech questions? I mean, anything that aspirants should be aware of?
Yes, sir. Actually, in fact, if you look at last 15 years of prelims, first of all, I'm telling about prelims, sir. If you will be looking about last 15 years of prelims science and technology questions,
Okay.
there are 296 questions actually. I had sorted it in a structured manner. Now, if we have to look into the areas where they are focusing, the relevant and stressed areas by the government of India will become the questions for the exam in the prelims. For example, if I have to say, during COVID 2020, 2021, 2022, government of India stressed more upon, and news is more about biotechnology, vaccines, immunity and all. So most of the lion's share in science and technology of 15 questions of that year went to biology and biotechnology. Now, post-COVID, when we are recovering in 23, 24 and all, since we had resources then, we were going for artificial intelligence, emerging technology and all. So that year, there are a lot of questions related to emerging tech, quantum, qubits, and AI, IoT and all. So what is the trend I had studied is that focus areas which are highly relevant in the current affairs will be asked in the exam. Obviously, space, defense, all these things will be asked, sir. But the most important domain in that complete year will be having slightly higher weightage. Say maybe some 20% extra questions on this domain.
Okay. So the idea is that we'll have questions scattered from all topics, but whatever is the focus of the government in the last few years, that becomes focus in the exam as well.
Yes.
Okay, fair.
Obviously, because the aspirants have to work in future with respect to science and tech department, governance and all.
Yes. Yeah. True. Fair. Also, so students always say this about especially the accuracy in science and tech being slightly lower, unlike say a polity or an economy, etc. Firstly, how do we fix it? And if at all, is there any trick to fix it?
Yes, sir. Sir, obviously, one thing we have to accept that even if I'm teaching science and tech also, I'm outrightly saying that science and technology is not equal to polity or economy. The reason is that, say, if 15 questions come from polity, 13 to 14 questions are doable, because if they are having strong static concept, maybe 1 or 2 questions might become problematic. Barring 2021, polity and economy are equal most of the years. But science and technology per se will be having some new bouncer questions in the prelims also. So but the thing students must remember is that if that is difficult for us, difficult for them, it is difficult for all the aspirants who are going to get the ranks.
That's true.
And next, if 90% of accuracy is possible in polity and economy, science and technology, 60 to 70% of accuracy is possible. Now, shooting that will also be very much beneficial, because in 30 marks, they will be able to reach 20 marks. Many won't be getting even that also. So this takes them and gives them an additional advantage. And to the second question which you had asked, how to ace it? Sir, what I will be doing generally, and what I would suggest students also to do, is that I had divided complete science and technology into 12 domains. So space technology, defense technology, energy, biotechnology, universe and physics. In this manner, I had divided into 12 domains. for larger domains. Now, if you look into PYQs, in these 12 domains, you will be getting around 32 themes. Okay, now you have to have static knowledge on those themes. Okay. And along with that, if possible, you have to work for current affairs related to 1.5 to 2 years of the last 2 years. Okay. For sure, if an aspirant does this rigorously, he or she can gain 60 to 70% of accuracy. And this is very much good in science and tech.
Definitely, 60-70% accuracy is it's amazing in science and tech. So,
yes.
So largely the way you are teaching plus bit of static and the last 2-3 years contemporary events is something that we should be aware of. Okay, fair.
Yes.
And sir, specifically for the main examination, how should we handle science and tech answers? I mean, see, because writing tech in GS3 feels like walking on a tightrope, I would say.
Yes.
Especially with other topics in GS3 being there. So how do you manage it?
Yes, sir. Obviously, in fact, many experts also suggested to remove science and technology from mains also. But leaving that aside, since it is not possible currently, we have to do with the things. Sir, if we look into the syllabus of science and technology mains part, it is divided into 3 main domains. Say, one major domain is applications of science and technology, and UPSC had given specifically what are the domains. Say, biotechnology, nanotechnology, intellectual property rights. So, what all the themes mentioned in the syllabus and the themes which have been asked in the past year, last 10 years, we have to make a chart of them, and we need to have 2 to 3 pages of notes for them. Say, for example, applications of biotechnology. Okay. We will be looking applications of biotechnology in health, application of biotechnology in agriculture, application of biotechnology in industry. So we can have a note of them.
The dimensions.
Different dimensions based on PYQs and general understanding itself also. So this is one domain. And the second type of questions, what they are asking is that utility of science and tech in the human life. So what we will be doing, we will be breaking science and technology into different parts. Biotechnology, space technology, human life into different parts, health, agriculture. Just we will be linking them, same as we had done earlier. And one more type of question, sir. Say they are asking, even it is mentioned in the syllabus also, achievements of India in science and technology and Indians also. This increases the domain to a larger extent. But even here also, it will be beneficial if an aspirant have a look into the current affairs of last 2 years. Since we are telling achievements of India in the science and tech domain, say space tech. Say they had asked, say, for example, in 2023, they had asked about Chandrayaan 3. In 22, they had asked about S400. Now, all those are major current affairs in that domains in that last 1 or 2 years. So, if we are having note of static part of biotechnology, nanotechnology, which are mentioned in the syllabus, and note of the important major current affairs of last 1 to 2 years for science and technology, we can handle these things very much easier, sir. Okay. But one note here is that if you look into the last 15 years of mains papers, science and technology in mains is one such area where lot of bouncers have been thrown. So, but that bouncer would be one question. Even if you are getting 4 questions, one question would be difficult and 3 questions would be manageable. Just in that 4th question, we have to play safe. Say, for example, earlier we got a question on blue LED. So, in those type of things, just we have to play safe.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fair. So again, I think we over the course of so many GS Room episodes have discussed with multiple faculty, and it always comes down to a few things like focusing on the PYQs, dividing it into themes, and having that interconnection. Yeah. Right. So studying any topic in your subject in isolation is a challenge, and I think that's something that the students have to learn to develop a sense of interlinkage. The 360-degree approach. Yeah. The A.B. de Villiers style of batting, as we call it, right? So that is what is required. Okay. Also, sir, is science and tech genuinely getting tougher with each passing year, or is it just some coaching or a social media panic? What do you feel?
Sir, obviously, science and technology is getting tougher. The reason is that number of domains being added is being increased. But problem is that some institutes are creating FOMO out of it. But as I told earlier, if we get restricted to the PYQ themes and the specific domains mentioned in the syllabus for mains, 90% of your work will be sorted. but 10% here and there will be for any subject. Say for example, they said even GS2 polity also had some bouncers.
Definitely.
So that is common. But of course, since new type of technologies will be emerging every now and then, we have to have a lot of focus on it. So, but if we are having some good strategy, as I mentioned earlier, dividing into domains and making notes out of them, it will be easier.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Also, sir, emerging technology, say quantum, semiconductors, AI, gene editing, such things. How do we actually need to go for UPSC with respect to these topics? What do you think would be the idea?
Yes. So one thing is that obviously an aspirant must have knowledge of them, but it doesn't mean that we have to have a scientific knowledge, in-depth knowledge of them, because at last this is a general studies paper.
Yes.
Main focus would be to understand what are the core things happening and what are the applications for mains and for prelims, main things of that. Say for example, since you mentioned as quantum technology, earlier they had asked about qubits. That is a very basic thing. Again, they can ask about superposition, entanglement. These are the basic things. But we need not go into the nuances and nuances of a scientist and all.
The full research is not required, but knowing the term and knowing the application part is what you say, and some basic information on this again.
That is, I guess.
Sir, also ISRO, as you had said earlier as well, is always in news, right? Be it Chandrayaan 3, Aditya L1, Gaganyaan, whatever. How should aspirants study space technology without turning into rocket scientists?
Yes. Sir, one thing, since you had asked also, I want to tell, science and technology is not equal to space technology, because many aspirants will be putting a lot of their energy only on space technology. Of course, the reason also is that many of the current affairs magazines will focus on space technology. But if you will be doing the data analysis of science and technology PYQs, out of all the MCQs, only 5% of MCQs are from space technology. And if there is any heavy focus on that year, we'll be having 1 or 2 additional questions. But I am not telling it is not important, it is of importance. Questions if comes on science and space technology, it would be easier also. So first thing is that space technology is not equal to science and technology. Second question, for the thing you had asked, how to deal with it. Sir, for space technology, first thing, you have to be very much strong in static part.
Okay.
What are the different orbits? Low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, high Earth orbit, function, principles behind that, centrifugal force and all, different launch vehicles of ISRO, different types of satellites and all. Now, when you are having knowledge of this, theoretical knowledge of this, say for example, ISRO had launched any new mission, obviously they will be launching in any of this orbit, using any of these vehicle, using any of this principle, it would be very much easier. So, what I would suggest is that you have to know all the static knowledge of that, orbits, latitudes and all, sorry, orbits, different things and all, fuels and all. And further, as I mentioned, last 2 years of current affairs related to space tech, what all the launches ISRO had done. And for this also, it would be very much beneficial if an aspirant goes and checks ISRO's website. ISRO's website is a treasure, sir. Actually, in it, each and everything will be summarized very properly. Main features of an mission, applications of that, why they are launching and what are their objectives. So I would suggest an aspirant to go for checking ISRO's website.
And that is too much of expectation, especially in the spoon feeding age right now, where aspirants love to just be spoon fed everything, sadly. But yes, I mean, if you put in the effort, it will show in the result, definitely.
Yes, true.
So, okay, so I think rightfully pointed out as well that, because these things are largely seen as achievements of India, so they are more in media, more in news, and hence the focus of aspirant also becomes more slightly on these topics. Fair enough, sir. Okay, sir, also coming to artificial intelligence, AI. So what exactly should we focus on? I mean, concepts, ethics, governance, applications. I mean, where is that sweet spot?
Sir, for obviously, if you look into AI PYQs and AI as a topic itself also, since future is AI, everyone is telling future is AI, AI will lead to everything and all. Now, for prelims, we can look into newer domains of AI, like different models, large language models, or different type of initiatives like ChatGPT, OpenAI. We had seen additionally problems with respect to AI and all. For prelims, these are sufficient. But for mains, we need to have a knowledge about applications of AI in different domains, be it in health domain, agriculture domain, and specifically for ethics, sir. AI and ethics is an very important topic for this year and further years also. Say we are discussing because AI is leading to layoffs. AI had led to these deep fakes. So AI and ethics will be having a lot of interface. So what I would suggest is that for all the subjects, GS subjects, from GS1 to GS4, we should once have a look of AI angle in it. Say governance, how AI will be using in the will be useful in the governance. Say in land record modernization and all. So if we will be looking at different domains with our GS syllabus, it would be very much easier, sir. And probably if they are asking in the mains also, they can mainly ask about AI's relevance in governance or AI's relevance in different sectors. So if at all we will be preparing it prior, it will be easier.
Yeah. So very rightfully said, sir, and I think a great suggestion for all is to have just one idea of AI for every GS paper.
Yeah.
Have that perspective on how AI can contribute or how AI can pose challenges for various GS papers. Absolutely well said, sir. Also, so coming to now cybersecurity.
Okay.
So cybersecurity is a whole jungle. Certain zero-day exploits, cyber laws, right? So how do aspirants prepare for such digital threats smartly?
Yes, sir. Every now and then you will be listening about cyber security hazard. If you open Hindu paper or Indian Express every day, you will be getting 2 to 3 articles about cyber security. That is true, sir. Now, cyber security as a domain is important in 2 areas for our UPSC mains. First thing is internal security. In internal security, we will every alternate year we will be getting a question on science and cyber security challenges and all, how to handle different regulations in place. But coming to science and technology linked with cyber security, sir, we need to know what are the different new types of cyber security hazards that are in use. Say earlier they had asked about WannaCry, Petya, different types of malware. And now you might be knowing there is a lot of scope about the digital arrest, how the things are functioning. So here you need to know the factual part of that.
Okay.
And for internal security part, you need to know the governance related to cyber security, how we are handling. Say for example, certain NCIIPC, critical information infrastructure and all, we need to know for internal security part. But for science and technology part, the basic understanding of cyber security is sufficient.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that means different types of malwares in use, different types of any new types of cyber threats in use. Say juice jacking, doxing, digital arrest and all. Yes.
So largely the logic behind these, not
Yes.
the application part, because that again falls in the IS domain, that's
Yes,
internal security domain.
One thing students must remember is that we are attending a general studies paper.
Okay.
No need of doing research and all here.
Fair. I think that goes well for almost every subject, right?
Yes.
And that becomes a concern. Where to stop, where to draw that line.
Yes.
Also, sir, biotech scares a lot of people, right?
Yes.
How much of biology do we actually need for gene editing, CRISPR, mRNA, vaccines? What do you feel?
Yes. Sir, obviously, this is one of the scary area for many of the aspirants because most of the people will be engineers. Of course, I am not telling like that others won't be
Or even
there.
humanities background for that matter.
Even for humanities background also, it is a problematic thing. For doctors, so sir, for biology and biotechnology part, if I have to talk about biology, basics of cell, different functions of cell, say role of DNA, mitochondria, the lysosomes and all, difference between plant cell, animal cell. Looking into PYQs, we can chart out what all the themes we have to work on biology, sir. That is sufficient, more than sufficient.
Okay.
Now coming to biotechnology, what are the things in use? Say GM crops, we have to work on it.
Okay.
Say DMH mustard, BT cotton and all. And other areas of biotechnology, say CRISPR-Cas9, gene editing, which are in use. And that too also, there should be they have to fix in their mind about the depth of how much they will be reading. Otherwise, it would be a borderless and bottomless sea.
That's true, sir.
Yeah.
Fair.
So obviously, they have to restrict that and they have to chart out the themes from the news. And one more thing, sir, for biotechnology, every year Nobel Prize would be announced for biology. Now, what UPSC is doing, the area which have been awarded that becomes important for our exam also. Just you need to have fair idea about it. Say for example, mRNA have been awarded last year.
Yes.
We have to have an idea about it. This year, last month they had 2 months back they had announced Nobel Prize in biology for T cells, this immunity and all. So you need to have fair knowledge of it. So what are the things of biology and biotechnology in the last 2 years? Students must work on it. But no need to become you have a hue and cry about it.
Again, the same thing, drawing the line. No,
Yeah.
Not too much of research.
Yes.
Also, so defense technology now.
Yeah.
Drones, hypersonics, missiles. Should aspirants follow every DRDO update or just maybe major trends? Will that be sufficient?
Yes. One more thing I have to mention here is that how there will be static part for space tech, as I mentioned, orbits and all. Similarly, for defense tech also, it will be applicable, sir.
Of course.
So, as I mentioned earlier, cruise missiles. What is cruise missile? What is ballistic missile? And any past programs of us like integrated guided missile development program and all. Now, first you need to have basic static knowledge about it, functioning of these missiles, and current affairs which are prominently in use. Obviously, they cannot ask each and everything, and they even it will be not. It won't be a very greater return on investment for aspirant also.
True.
Because very one or two questions will be coming, and in fact there might be no questions also. So they have to work on it selectively, but not needed for checking each and every DRDO update. But for this, what I would suggest, sir, some might think it as foolish or anything, but I would suggest to follow the Twitter handle of Honorable Prime Minister and Honorable Defense Minister.
Okay.
Both of them will be, if it is very much important for our country and of good defense deal, they will be tweeting it. So I would suggest to have a look on them.
Okay, so we have additional resource material now. Twitter also needs to be followed, right? Fair. No,
No, just as a social media refreshment.
If any kind of information can be obtained in a very lighter manner, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Great, definitely. So also nuclear energy.
Yeah.
Nuclear energy, as in, should we study it as physics? Should we study it as policy? Should we study it as IR, or all three mixed?
Sir, obviously for IR we had civil nuclear deals for nuclear. We had different treaties to control it and all. Now that is completely IR part, sir. But coming to science and technology's relevance for nuclear, very first we had very restricted domains for nuclear. First is what is nuclear energy, different ways to produce nuclear energy, be it nuclear fusion, nuclear fission, and what world is doing to produce this, what India is doing to produce this. Say for nuclear fusion, globally we are having ITER project. They had asked this question in this year mains.
Yes.
China is doing artificial sun. That is a probable thing. We'll be using tokamak and all. That in international level. Similarly, in India case, what India is doing for nuclear. Say we are having 3-stage nuclear energy program. We had recent news about fast feeder reactors. We had started private sector. We are allowing private sector participation in nuclear. In recent budget also they had announced. So just the areas which are having static knowledge, as I mentioned, and any current domains we have to add it. Sir, and as I mentioned in the very first question, this itself also proves that science and technology is not only current affairs. It is a link of both static and current.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Also for renewable energy.
Yeah.
So green hydrogen, solar, offshore wind. How do you prepare this portion smartly without memorizing every scheme, etc.?
Yes. Sir, just I want to change the question for our viewers. Instead of renewable energy, I would divide that field into energy, energy as a whole field, and in that I would generally divide into 3 subfields.
Okay.
One is renewable versus non-renewable. Second is nuclear energy, because nuclear is having a lot of relevance. And third is emerging energy technologies. That means newer type of technologies. So nuclear as a domain, I had discussed earlier in the past question itself. And coming to renewable and non-renewable, sir, just what are the different types of renewable energies, different types of non-renewable energies, and any scheme government had launched for it, and how basic functioning of that energy. Say for example, geothermal energy. It is based on the thermal difference between Earth's surface and the under surface. So we just require basic knowledge of it, of every technology, renewable and non-renewable. And for the new technologies, this is an emerging domain, sir. UPSC also started asking more about this. Say green hydrogen, fuel cell technology. What are the energies in the news? We have to work on it. And for this also, they need not in the regular current affairs magazines, and even if they are following any newspaper, single newspaper also, we will be getting them. So that won't be an issue. But my case is that since as an whole energy domain, nuclear energy is very much relevant. After that, renewable and non-renewable, and after that, new energies like fuel cell and all. And sir, here there is intersection with other environment also, say renewable, non-renewable. We will be having intersection with geography and environment also. So students must look at that also.
Okay, that's pretty comprehensive. Sir, about science and tech questions we see them being often linked to, as you said, environment also these days. How should students or aspirants tackle this overlap?
Earlier I had mentioned that for all the topics which are mentioned in the syllabus, say biotechnology, nanotechnology, we need to make a 2-pager or 3-pager note. And specifically in that pagers, we need to have one dimension specifically for link with environment. This will be sorting their work. For example, this year, one of the 15 marker, or if I'm not wrong, subject to correction 10 marker or 15 marker, nanotechnologies relevance for, biotechnologies relevance for clean energy. They had linked that. Nanotechnologies link for agriculture. They had linked both of their domains. Now, obviously, if we look into the PYQs, this is a repeated theme.
Yes.
So, what all the things, as I mentioned earlier, every technology and its relevance with environment. This will sort that there.
Great. Sir, also, do you see a trend where UPSC is shifting from factual science and tech to more concept-based, more application-type questions?
Sir, not definitely, but UPSC is having mix of both.
And what would the ratio be roughly? Have you seen the shift in the ratio maybe?
Yeah, obviously, sir. Now they are asking for application-oriented questions also. Say in the prelims, in 22, they had asked 4 questions, say application of AI.
Okay.
Different, similarly, I had asked different applications. Now, when in a factual paper, that means in an objective question, you are asking about applications, which is even emerging. So, there is high probability.
That's true.
Yeah. So, that is somewhat problematic, but there is slighter shift. But one thing is that if you are having conceptual clarity of that, for sure we can answer those questions. Not a problem.
Of course. Yeah. I think this was also a general perception of almost every faculty here. That static knowledge is important, but we see, thankfully, that UPSC has now shifted to more application of every aspect and every topic, every dimension in the society. That's great, because ultimately knowing facts is important, but how do these facts play an important role in our society is more important. So that's a great thing for UPSC as well.
One more thing, sir, here, say for example, 2025 question here this time, that since this AI or everything, quantum, all these are in news, they had asked about Majorana chip. Now, in that, they had, along with that factual thing, they had interlinked one application also. Now, what I am telling is that in a question, if they are having 3 options, they are keeping 1 or 2 factual and 1 is an application oriented. So, this is the trend, and students must get habituated for this also.
Yes. Yeah. So, I think that's why we say that UPSC has become a thinking person's paper now. Yeah. You have to think constantly. Okay, sir. Also coming to, sir, sources, right? Yeah. So, is like newspapers and current affairs enough? Or as you said earlier, that we do not really have that standard book per se for science and tech. So, do you also need some proper books beyond, newspaper and current affairs?
Sir, to be honest, actually, as we had, I'm not taking names, very good sources for polity, economy and all. If not 100%, at least 90% of good in them. But science and technology as a domain, as I mentioned, it requires both static and current affairs knowledge. Problem is there is no good source for this static part. So generally in my classes here, what I would be doing, I would be giving them handouts for each and every, as I mentioned, 14 themes. Okay. For each and every theme, I would be giving, in the first class would be about complete static part. In the second class, I would be covering the current affairs of that domain. Say in the first class I would be teaching all the space technology static part, say orbits and all, launch vehicles and all. In the second class I will be connecting what all the current events happened in the last 2 years. So this itself become the source. But to others, what I would suggest is that Google would be better source for you, sir. because since there is no domain, look into PYQs, look into possible themes and all, make a chart of them, and make soft notes of it for the static part. And current affairs, they can rely on the magazine. So one good monthly magazine or yearly magazine of their choice, I would suggest for science and technology specifically, it would be better if they follow newspaper also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the habit that they have hated the most,
Yeah.
you're forcing them to study newspaper. Some students will go crazy. But that's good, sir. Actually, I think this is a concern, especially for science and tech, because there is no standard book, as you said, rightfully. Okay. So newspaper, current affairs, their own notes, and you would say Google is way better.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. And sir, in mains answers, do diagrams and flowcharts help in science and tech, or is it just too overrated? What do you feel?
Sir, that also depends on the question, sir. As in every subject, in science and technology also, it depends on the question. Say, for example, earlier they had asked in 2021 or 22, if I'm not wrong, they had asked a question about S400. That is an air defense system. Now, in that, it would be easier for them to how this will be function if they draw the diagrams. Now, say, rather than fixing our mind that we have to follow the diagrams, if the question has the demand of drawing that and there is a need, obviously they can do. Otherwise, no need of doing that forcefully.
Exactly. I mean, that's the first question during any answer writing session. People do ask, sir, how do I add flowcharts? I mean, I think adding flowcharts should come naturally.
Yeah. If it is natural, we can do. Otherwise, no. Strict no.
Okay. Sir, also, since we're discussing about the sources, so should aspirants bother reading these global science magazines like the MIT Tech Review, Scientific American, etc.? Is that an overkill? What do you feel?
Sir, you are already telling me that I am adding newer sources like Twitter and all. So, obviously not needed, sir. Okay. Because if we, out of interest, they can read. But if I have to talk about return on investment, it will be very much less.
The cost benefit is very
cost benefit is very much less. So, as I mentioned earlier, look into PYQs, look into the syllabus, chart out the themes, work on it. It would be sufficient.
Also, to point this out at this junction itself, see every faculty we've had so far, they have focused on two very important events in the exam. One is the syllabus and the other is PYQs. I think for every aspirant, this goes on without saying that you start your UPSC journey by reading the syllabus of that subject on a daily basis for at least first 7, 8, 10 days of your discussion for every subject. And the PYQs, I think it's better to mug up those PYQs, by heart them if you keep on revising them. That helps you also understand what is required and what is not required for the exam. Rightfully point out, sir. Please. Yes. Also, I think I had asked this in a different format, but ethics in, say, AI and biotech and cyber, my point is, how much depth should an aspirant cover here? I mean, technical or philosophical? Both angles. What do you feel? Since you come from the science and tech background, so what is your take on this?
Sir, obviously, say when a question comes on critical analysis generally, we need to know the pros and cons of the tech. In that manner, ethics of every technology will be important, because we can write that points in negatives. Say, for example, just I'm taking an example of AI. We have to mention about algorithmic bias. Different type of things.
From school days, science is boon or bane.
Yeah, boon or bane. So exactly. that we have to do, sir, both of this philosophical and also science and tech orientation, and this will be useful in our essay ethics and all. So obviously they have to do that.
So in the GS paper 3, we should stick to being technical and avoid any philosophical aspect to it. What do you suggest?
Not per se philosophical, sir. If the question asks about critical analysis, then we can mention it. But the thing is that until now they didn't ask critical analysis of this, because being it science and tech.
Fair. Also, sir, government missions, so like say Digital India, Semiconductor Mission, National AI Mission, Green Hydrogen Mission, what's the best way to cover them in a structured manner? Missions.
Sir, one thing is that obviously we have to do that, sir. There is no second thought of it.
Okay.
Because very first benefit out of it is direct question of it, direct question about it can be asked in the prelims. Second benefit is that there would be very good points as value addition for our answers in every paper. Okay. Say, for example, in geography also, we can quote about critical minerals mission, technical textiles mission. So that is important, though no second thought of it. So if students have an habit of reading the newspaper, which I would suggest to do that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Have a note of, make a note of all the missions which are happening in the last 1 year, and have 5 points for each thing. Objectives, main goals, specific features, and what it want to achieve. Say for example, and sir, they currently UPSC is asking direct questions out of it also. Say for example, in this year they had asked about semiconductor mission, 15 marker.
Yes.
So there is no second thought of skipping them. Obviously, it would be tiring, it would be boring, but the thing is that it would also be rewarding.
Yes.
So even if they are not reading newspaper also, I would suggest to do that. But if they rely on the magazines also, it will be sufficient for it. Because one thing what everyone must remember is to limit their sources. I'm not suggesting this institute or that institute, but believe on institute, understand whether it is good or bad, and follow it.
Okay. So objective goals, the functions, achievements, targets. Fair. Also, sir, how should aspirants differentiate between the science and tech preparation for prelims and mains? I mean, same topic but different depth, right?
Yeah.
So what would that boundary line be?
As I mentioned earlier, sir, mainly in the prelims, it would be 80% of actual, 20% of application. Here it is opposite. 20% of actual information, 80% of application. If you look at the questions also, it would be more or less like that, sir. Say for example, this year, if there are 3 questions from science and technology around weightage of 45, some 35 to 45 marks. One question is about nanotechnology application in agriculture. One question is about biotechnology application in clean energy. So obviously, mostly about applications in mains. Yeah.
Okay. Sir, also, why do students, in your opinion, struggle with terms and terminology so much? I mean, how do we simplify the crazy technical terms without losing accuracy? Because that's important,
Yes.
right? But still.
Sir, the thing is that mostly people would be from humanities. They won't be having this knowledge, prior knowledge. And even if they are from engineering or MBBS background also, they might not have heard these words earlier.
That's true.
So whenever we'll be listening a new word, it creates some pain point in us. So what I would suggest is that rather than feeling it as pain point, first thing they have to do that because it is important for our exam. Say CRISPR-Cas9 or nanotechnology, quantum tunneling. Now they have to do that. So what I would suggest is that if they are feeling some problematic, just search about that in the YouTube, type that, watch 1 or 2 videos of that. Not of any UPSC related, just innovation related. Obviously, if there is any new emerging technology, there would be many international journals and all who would be working on them. They would be showing that in a pictographic manner, which I would be doing in my classes also generally. So just 5 to 6 minutes of that. So you will be getting interest on it. Then you won't be facing any problem of it.
Okay, fair. And so if you had to pick, I mean, what are the most scoring areas in science and tech right now, according to your opinion?
So right now, as I mentioned, the focus domain of UPSC will be changing as per the focus area of the government of that respective year.
Definitely.
Barring that, main areas what aspirants have to focus is about biotechnology. Okay. Around 15 to 25% of questions are from biotechnology in the past, sir. And in that biotechnology also, what happened in the last 1 year? Say for example, as I mentioned earlier, this time 2 months back, T cells, basically immunity and all, got Nobel Prize. So we have to focus on that. Then comes space technology. Then comes defense technology. Then comes nuclear. Then later on, sir. Okay. So these are high priority areas. Somewhat low priority we should give to physics, chemistry, because we are getting 1 or 2 years on these domains in 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
So
general science is at a lower priority.
It's a lower thing. So cost benefit analysis is very much lower.
Okay. Yeah. So also, what is one big, or should I say the biggest misconception aspirants have about science and tech preparation? What you have encountered after teaching hundreds and hundreds of students?
First thing is that they will feel it is difficult.
Okay.
And the second thing is that they would consider it as only current affairs. Yeah, that is the very big misconception, sir. That when an aspirant leaves that and has will gain the static knowledge, obviously it would become very much easier. And same as polity and economy, it will become one more interesting subject for him or her.
Okay, great. So focus on gaining the static knowledge of it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, if you are allowed to, let's say, tweak the science and tech syllabus for UPSC, what's one change that you would want to make?
Sir, anyway, very nice question. For prelims, science and technology, somewhat detailed syllabus, and for mains, if possible, remove science and technology from mains.
Oh.
Because anyway, what we are doing, we are asking as an application. That is not technology per se. So it would be difficult for an aspirant to write a technology as a descriptive answer.
Fair. Because again, it would have elements of governance and ethics, possibly. And
So in that specific domains, they can add a technology angle.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like they do have that e-governance aspect,
Yeah.
and you sometimes do feel that this is largely scientific, and still it is a part of governance. It should be. So,
Yeah.
so you say that we should not have science and tech as a part of mains, but largely in prelims with slightly more focus.
Yes, sir. Say, for example, sir, Andhra Pradesh Public Service Commission, they also had a science and technology paper. Now, in the new pattern which they are going to bring, they had announced that science and technology in the mains would be having objective rather than descriptive.
Great.
So that is the reason also.
Okay.
And one more thing, sir. Actually, earlier you had asked about high priority areas. I forgot to add about information and communication technology and emerging technologies.
ICT.
This ICT and DT. Yeah, that would be also very important.
And finally, sir, if science and tech had to give one life lesson to UPSC aspirants, what would that one life lesson be?
Sir, life lesson is that for an UPSC aspirant specifically, this is applicable, and for normal people also. While doing an innovation in science and technology, it won't become success in the very first time. There would be lot of attempts. We have to work upon the problem. It might become problematic thing. Even in inventing the bulb also, there are 1,000 failures.
Yes.
So an aspirant should take inspiration of that. That even if it doesn't happen in a one go, have patience, have courage, have confidence on you, you will succeed. That is for sure.
That's amazingly put, sir. That one life lesson that is very much applicable for aspirants, especially, is that science and tech does remind us that discipline and perseverance results in success. And yes, of course, science and tech also tells us how the world keeps on changing, and so must we. That's all for me. I'm Anubhav Saransh, and this was the GS Room, where the curious meets the serious. Jai Hind.